Hello, my posse. Hello to all my new subscribers. I want to thank you so much for joining my channel. I know some of you just found me not too long ago, and I'm sorry that you found me under such sad circumstances, but I'm so glad that you're here. I'm not really sure what I'm going to say today. I sat in this chair, and I know God's wrapped his arms around me, and he's going to guide me on what to say. You know that my son passed away the beginning of August 4th, and it's been a roller coaster for all of us in the family. I can't even tell you the grief and the pain of grieving that it has put on our family, all of us. Grieving anyone that you love is a very sad situation. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my son and a little bit about us. And I hope you're interested, and I hope you stay tuned to the end. This is kind of like a little closure for you, because I know you follow me, and it's also therapy for me to get this out and move on. As sad as that sounds, to move on, but God's got me, and we will move on. So I'm going to start this and hope that you stay with me for my therapy session and to tell you a little bit about my son. So, yeah, you know that we went to Nashville actually the end of July, and we had a great visit with my son and his family, my grandson, and my daughter-in-law. And we had said it was really a really nice visit. I certainly didn't notice or think anything was any different than the other visits that we had, except that maybe he was a little calmer than most times, and I'll explain that. But we had a beautiful visit, and it was like a spur of the moment. I told you in the other video, it was a spur of the moment visit, and we just kind of took off and went, and so glad we did. We came back home, and a week later, we get this phone call in the morning that he was found unresponsive. I don't know whether somebody having an illness where you can process the death, and you have time to grieve because you know it's eventually maybe going to happen, is better or worse, or the suddenness of losing somebody that you just saw is the more traumatic of it. Either circumstances, it's bad. Grieving is a real heart-tugging. We all have our days, ups and downs, and we're here as a family together, and it's one day I'll have a good day, and me and my husband will be thinking of something really funny that Jeff did, and we'll go back and remember something, and then I get a call from my other son who's not having a good day. So we kind of talk each other, back and forth, and then my daughter will have a bad day, and then she'll have a good day, and then I'll call her and I'll have a bad day, and she talks me down. So this is kind of like what families do when they're grieving, and I'm so blessed to have my son in Arizona, my daughter-in-law in Arizona. So we can all get together and share our grief, and I don't want to say that it makes it better, but it softens our grief a little bit to know that we're all going through it. And in that process, we do remember his fun moments. And I've got to tell you that my Jeff was that middle child, where the rules don't apply to the middle child. He was just a fun, crazy, hyper kid. And one of my subscribers on here who said it, she hit it. She says, isn't it, she lost a child also. And she said, isn't it funny? Well, not funny, but when you sit there and you process their death, you think about from babies to childhood to teenagers to when they become men, you can think of everything that's happened in that time frame of like staring for 10 minutes. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's so right, because that's what we've been doing. We've been going back thinking of his childhood and his younger years to the wonderful man that he was to his family and to us. And I remember just being this crazy, wild, hyper little kid. And I met my husband Denny when he was 4, and my husband says, oh, don't worry, I'll calm him down. We'll get him into sports and I'll calm him down. And I said, okay, that's good. And so I remember one day we were sitting on the porch, a stoop like in our old neighborhood, and Jeff was outside. He was running around like crazy. And I said, so yeah, when is that going to happen that you're going to take over and calm him down? I mean, he was like a kid on the street. He went through, you remember what the big wheels were? You know, you had those kids rode those big wheels, you know, with the one big wheel in the front and 2 in the back. He went through 3 of those. My dad bought them for him because he was just hyper. So, you know, we got him in football and we got him all that stuff, and you know, he was fine. In fact, the schools used to go, when's football season start? Because we really see a good calmness in him when he's got something to do. And so he was just that kind of a child. Did I notice anything through the years on him that would flag that he would grow up to have this horrific anxiety that he suffered through? No, I didn't. As a mom, I didn't really see anything. He suffered through his last probably 20 years, 25 years with insomnia so bad. I mean, he would call me sometime at 3 o'clock in the morning because he couldn't sleep, and then he would get anxious and he would have anxiety, and I would have to talk him down and, you know, and just and try to help him out. I don't know when all this anxiety and when all this claustrophobia set in. Some people label all this a mental health issue. I don't even want to put that label on my son that he had mental health issues. It's just me as a mom. I don't say that because I don't picture that as somebody with mental health, but he was full of anxiety. He was OCD. I remember he called me sometimes and he'd say, I can't even go to work in the morning unless I clean house, vacuum, and make sure the coffee maker's clean. I'm like, really? Seriously? You were the biggest pig growing up that of all the kids. He was the dirtiest of them all. And he grew up with this OCD so bad that his house was just, he was crazy. And, you know, we used to just laugh about it. And the claustrophobia was it's just a horrible thing to go through. He couldn't travel going on the expressways. He couldn't go on the expressways because he was afraid he was going to get stuck, and sometimes he was, and he'd pull over and he'd run out of the car. And he used to, when he got his jobs, he would get in his car and drive around until he found back roads that he could get to work on so he didn't have to go on the expressway. I mean, the claustrophobia and that feeling that you have, and if any of you have had that, it's pretty intense. But he always made light of it, so we never really triggered it to be a really mental health kind of issue. I remember one time he called me and he was going through a car wash, which he's gone through the car wash many, many times. And he said he looked in the mirror and he saw the car wash had a garage door in the front and a garage door in the back that closed it off. And this was like a really cold day for Tennessee. And so he went through the car wash, he looked through the rear view mirror, he saw the garage door go down in the back, and he was okay. And then he looked in the front and he saw the front garage door go down, and he panicked. So he opens up the door of the car wash, he crawls out of the car wash, he gets to the guy that's up there handling all the car wash things, and he was soaking wet. And the guy looked at him, he goes, how did you get out of here? And he goes, I crawled out of my car because you shut the doors. And so the guy had to hit the button and they had to close down the whole line. And he was soaking wet. And he told the story so hysterically that we all laughed. And but I guess it was pretty intense to him. And I know through the years I've talked him down a few times when he's been traveling or crossing a bridge and stuff. And the anxiety that he suffered and the claustrophobia that he suffered and the sleepless insomnia has just been awful for him. There were nights that he didn't even sleep and he would get up and go to work. And I know he told me he was on this melatonin, and oh my gosh, he was taking so many and none of it was doing him any good. And I said, well, you can't take, 30 milligrams of melatonin. And, he had been battling this for a while. In the process of battling this, he was the most loving, most funny, most caring son. He was amazing. He would call me like practically every night. He was calling us, especially since Denny and I were so sick with COVID and we almost lost Denny. He started to call us practically every night. He would call Denny one night and then he would call me one night. And the stories were like probably serious, but he made them out to be so funny, we would just laugh him off. And he would send us silly text messages. And I mean, this is a kind of a kid that he was. And I want to respect him for the kind, loving, funny person that he was. And I also, in saying that, I want to, I guess, for you to understand that anxiety and insomnia and claustrophobia and any kind of an issue that you are dealing with inside is a true issue. And sometimes, I think when you cry wolf too much, people don't have a tendency of believing you. They just laugh with you because, he used to tell such funny stories. It is a sickness that we all must watch out for and try to intervene at some point. I know the last few months, he was getting really bad with his driving. There were some issues that came up with the family, and they really wanted him to seek help. He did seek help finally for himself. He called, he said, Mom, I got to go to the doctors. I got to get something for this anxiety. I got to get something to sleep. I can't sleep. I can't function without sleeping. And so he did go to the doctors, and the doctor gave him medication. The doctor listened to what he said was wrong with him, how he was having trouble sleeping, how he was having anxiety issues, how he was, had OCD issues, how he was just over anxious all the time. And the doctor put him on 5 that I know of, but 4 I think to start, of a medication. They're called Schedule 4s. It's you look up Schedule 4s. It's a very hard substance medication / drugs that they give you. On these bottles of medication, he had 13 refills. Now, I always have a problem with medications with that many refills that shows me that you can just have them refilled without being checked. So on these medication bottles, it did say take 1 a day for this, or take 1 3 times a day for that, take 1 of these 4 times a day, take 1 to 2 of these at night for sleep, take 1 if you feel over anxious. So yeah, there's instructions on there, but you don't give a person 5 prescriptions of a Schedule 4 medication when you're already anxious, you already have some issues, you're already fighting your demons yourself, you're trying to fix the problem. You just don't do that to me. I mean, I'm not saying all doctors do that, but there's to be more of that going on than not. And I mean, it's probably fine, but you can't always trust somebody to take them the right way, or not to mix them with this, or not to mix them with that. You can't trust somebody that is going through anxiety and has mental health, so to speak, issues with that kind of substances. You just can't. And I know when we were down in Tennessee, I asked him, I said, are you taking this medication right? And he goes, oh yeah, I'm taking it, Mom, just like the doctor said. Well, maybe and maybe not. And I'm proud of him that he actually went to get this medication to try to help his family so he could deal with things better. He has been fighting this, his whole adult life, I think. And I'm proud of him for that. I'm also proud of the fact that he went years and years with trying to fight this himself. And I so respect him for that, because this has been going on for a long time. And none of us really kind of knew the magnitude of it, because he always made light of everything. He joked about it, just like the car wash thing. Just like, he was going over a bridge one time and he got stuck on a bridge and he called me from the car, and, he got out of the car and he made his wife drive, and all those things that happen but he told them with such humor and such fun that I don't know if we ever took him real seriously about it. I don't know. I mean, I guess when I look back, I have talked to him about different things, but he would always go, no, 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 Mom, no, I'm fine, no, everything's good. So I feel bad, you know, that that he finally sought help, so to speak, and somewhere along the line that backfired on him, and that's sad as a mom. Because you want your kids to be healthy, you want your kids to be happy. And I think he was happy. In a lot of ways, he was happy. He bought a lot of material things. They had a beautiful home. They had a lot of material things. But you know, the old story goes that money doesn't buy happiness, it buys choices. And he had a lot of choices. And something deep inside of him he couldn't shake. And we all feel bad for him because he was truly a wonderful, wonderful son. And I think if I remember him, and if you have any vision of my son, if I can give you any vision of him, he was a really funny, caring, great father, a good husband, a faithful husband, a good provider. He worked every day. He was a good man who had some issues and unfortunately sought help maybe in the wrong way. I'm not sure if he overtook his medication. I think he was, I'm finding out now that he was spiraling you know, before I even got there, but he didn't show it to us. So, you know, there's things to look out for, I guess, in a family. I think we would have intervened more as a family had we known. There's things that have popped up now. We go like, geez, why didn't we see that? Or, you know, why, how could I be right there and miss it? And, you know, it's hard. I don't know whether some of us as parents like overlook things because we want to, or it's just, you know, they cover it up so well. I think my son covered up so many things that we just saw him as this wonderful, fun-loving person, and I want, you know, I want to respect that part of him, and we are waiting for the autopsy report to come back, and hopefully get some answers as to why this tragedy happened, and so suddenly. And I really want to thank all of you for all of your prayers and for being with me through all this. This has been really, really a tough situation for all of us, and grieving is just a horrible thing to go through. I've grieved this year. I mean, I lost my niece at 59 suddenly in December, who was the caregiver for my sister who had dementia. She died suddenly from a massive heart attack. My sister ended up going into a nursing home with her dementia. I lost my sister a couple of months ago. I lost two first cousins within the last 3 months or so that were just so near and dear to my heart that I just miss. I lost my sister-in-law like I think 3 years ago now, who I absolutely loved. But losing my child is just, it's uncontrollably sobbing in your heart. I think it'll be for the rest of my life and our life. But we are together as a family. We're strong. We're here for each other. We're supporting each other. And if you know anybody in your family that is suffering from anything, or you think it's a cover-up, I mean, you know, some of the biggest comedians are, I mean, look at Robin Williams. I mean, you couldn't get any funnier than him, and yet he was covering up demons. So some of the funniest people that you know are may not be so funny inside. And that's why I think being respectful to people, caring about people, don't bully people, don't laugh at people, don't think that they're crying wolf too much. They're maybe crying for help in some capacity. And we must all reach out as human beings to help, whether it's family members, whether it's strangers, no matter who it is. We must be here to reach out, to try to help them. If you try to help them and you can't, and something happens, then you've done the best that you could do. And I grieve for all of you who have lost a loved one, who have lost a child. I know there's many of you on here that have responded. My heart goes out to all of you. And we all grieve in such different ways. I mean, some of us are just paralyzed. And I know for that first week, I was paralyzed. I couldn't hardly function. You just don't even know where your next breath is going to come from. But, you know, our family is strong. Me and my hubby are strong. My daughter does this for a living as a social worker in a hospital, and she knows that even her sometimes couldn't help our son, and that's tough on all of us. I pray for his family and his son who loves him, I know dearly, and I know misses him every day. And I know my son wanted Blake to be the strongest, the toughest, the most dedicated to his job. He wanted him to be independent and to function on his own and have a prosperous life. And I think that he's helped inspire that in my grandson. I pray for my daughter-in-law that finding him was very difficult for her. When there was nothing she could do. It was really too late. And so I pray, I ask you prayers for them. And I want to thank you all. I couldn't have gone through this without you. Thank you for allowing me the time to grieve. I will do some videos, and know that, when I do a wig review or something and I'm back to myself, that doesn't mean that I ever forget my son and what he's meant to us as a family, because we will love him forever. And like I say, be kinder, be nicer, pay attention to some signals maybe that are out there that you could maybe help. Mental health is, Nathalie the Beauty Diva said it to me, the best mental health has no face. And oh man, she's so right, because it has no face. And they only want you to believe what they want you to believe. They don't really tell you what's in their heart and what's really going on. And that's kind of scary in itself. And I think that Jeff has left us just positive droplets throughout his life that we will just take with us through the rest of our lives, because he had more positivity than he had negativity. And I hope he's in a better place. I hope God is embracing him, and that he is finally at peace with whatever it was that brought him down so bad. And thank you again for listening to me. I hope that this might help somebody else if you're going through that. And I am never going to sit here and say that medication/drugs are never the answer, because it can be the answer to a lot of problems, but you have to be careful. You have to be your own advocate as to what medications that you take. You have to listen to your body to know. I know my son, on some of the medication, he'd say, "Mom, I just don't feel right. I just don't feel right. I don't feel like me." You have to know those symptoms when you're on medication yourself and you have an issue. First, you got to go in and find out maybe you can fix the issue. There is an issue that maybe you can talk out with somebody, a therapist, something that's really that has brought to you to this point that you need this kind of medication/drugs in your life. If they can help you, you'll see a difference in yourself, not in a bad way, but in a good way. If you see a difference in yourself in a bad way, that's not the right medication for you. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to have feelings for yourself. You have to know what works and what doesn't work. And I'm sad that my son didn't come through it enough to see that something would have worked for him, and that he didn't have to pass the way he passed. And the suddenness of it is heart-wrenching. So for that, I want to leave you and thank you so much. And thank you to Miss Lynn on here from Over 50 and Fabulous. I'll put your channel, for praying for me the other night and lifting me up. It really, really helped me. And I felt God wrap his arms around me. And I know from that point on, every day will get a little bit better. And like I say, we all grieve differently. And I will love him forever. And I will love you forever. So thank you so much for stopping by and listening to me. And thank you for praying for me. I love you all. I'll see you soon. Bye.